Hey everybody, and welcome to Top of the Pods. This is the Scream special. We're going through the Scream franchise's best kills. We're joined here by Tom and Phil. Phil is the super fan of the Scream franchise. Tom is probably second behind him, but Phil is the big one. This is for you, Phil. So I'll go to you first. What is it about the Scream franchise first before we get into it that makes it stand out for you as your?
I think it's the whole mystery of the whole thing. Like, even like when I first saw it, I was so young, but it was just the opening. Not the opening scene of the first one, but it wasn't even the scene. It was. Do you remember at the start of it? Like, you obviously don't see him for ages, but there's one shot of him like running through the hallway. It's like 3 seconds long. I remember being terrified by it because you don't see the face, you just see a figure like running through the hallway. I just certain things like, but the whole mystery of the whole thing is what stands out to me. Um, it used to be very hard to guess, but now it's not so hard.
Are you like? Would you consider yourself a super fan? Were you a big Wes Craven fan as well?
Oh yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street is amazing.
Yeah.
It's probably one of my top 3 horror movies of all time.
Okay.
But no, just Scream in general, like it has all that meta stuff to enough to be fun, and it also knows when to be comedic, and it's not too mean either. So yeah, it's kind of just something that I really, really just gravitated as a kid, even though it terrified me, and I.
Tom, what about yourself? Were you a big Scream fan in the 90s or?
Well, it's kind of interesting. Like I'm actually a very kind of late comer to horror. Like horror is really only something I got into in the last, less than that 10 years. I'd say 5, 6 years even. So like I was always kind of someone who wrote off horror as being all splatter and gore and kind of stupid and needless violence, like that didn't care about characters and story. So when I found something like Scream that was kind of self-aware enough about horror and also cared kind of more about characters and continuity, it's something I very quickly gravitated towards. Now again, I've gone back and explored all these horror films and I appreciate it on an even different level now, considering a lot of other slashers it's like it doesn't really matter, the stories don't matter, the characters don't matter. If you look at something like a Friday the 13th, this is one where it's like I can get invested in these characters, and I love that the quality is so high in this series compared to a lot of them. It feels like so many series fall off, but Scream, it's like a new one comes out every couple of years and it's always entertaining. It seems like it's self-aware enough to have a good time. So yeah, I mean, Scream is way up there for series in general, not just horror ones for me.
Yeah, well, like what most horror movies, the franchise, the sequels and stuff like that, it's the same killer. Like you know who it is. It's Jason. It's Freddy. It's Michael Myers. Like, but it's the Ghostface, but it's somebody else in the franchise, and you just don't know who it's going to be. So when you come back to watch them, you have no idea who the killer could be. It could be one of the main stars, like who's had enough and they've decided to put the mask on themselves, and they're post-traumatic drama after the first 2 films. Like, so you don't know. In the next one, the Scream 6, we don't know who the killer's going to be, which is more intriguing. Like they're not in Woodsboro anymore, they're in New York. So this is going to be fascinating because
it feels like it can constantly refresh itself, where so many series can't do that. Like, yeah,
absolutely. Like, Woodsboro is a small town. Like in New York's is 9 million people. So we have no idea who the killer is going to be. But the good thing about the killers is there's always new ways for them to kill people. Like they always come up with some other way of killing people. So with New York, and in the trailer for Scream 6, there's one scene with a shotgun, like, which I've never seen. It's not normally always the knife or a handgun, during the first film. Like, but
and then it's like there's a scene where they're all crossing a ladder, which could go well. Yeah,
it reminded me of just watching it. Did you ever watch Fight Night with Emilio Estevez, where they get lost in the dodgy neighborhood and they have to crawl across get away from Dennis Leary? It's that kind of thing. Like, so yeah. So what we'll go on to the top 10 kills. There is a list out there that we could refer to from the Nerd Stash. They have their top 10 kills on the franchise. Ours will probably be similar, but some differences here and there. Their top 10 is number 10 was Maureen Evans from Scream 2, obviously at the start in the cinema scene, which was horrific for someone like they had the big star again at the start of the film. Stephen Orth from Scream 1, the first person who was killed in the franchise, sitting out by the pool. Cotton Weary in Scream 3 was number 8. Wes Hicks in Scream 5. Amber Freeman in Scream 5. Billy Loomis in the first Scream. Dewey in Scream 5. Richie Kirsch in Scream 5. Tatum Riley in the first Scream, and Casey Baker in the first Scream. So there's a lot from Scream 5 there on their list. So I'm pretty sure we won't have as many from Scream 5 on our list. But Phil, I'll go to you first. Your number 10.
My number 10 is actually one that people kind of either forget or think. You remember the scene with the car where the killer obviously gets caught and they have to climb out through the car to get past the killer. But before that,
yeah.
there was a cop that got killed where a pipe went through his head.
Yeah.
When I was younger, it always stood out to me as something that was really, really graphic. Like even just for sequels, I just remember seeing the hands and everything were still moving with the pipe rammed through his head. So yeah, I'd say that's number 10 for me. I think.
What that was in what Scream
2.
Scream 2. Okay, and is that on your list, Tom? Was that come up on your?
It's not on my list actually, and it's interesting. You said that when I'm looking at my list, there's actually quite a few from some of the more recent Screams in it. I think kind of after like the first few Screams, like it kind of feels like the deaths were, less spectacular at times. But yeah, there's that one is not on Scream. I do have a kill from Scream 2 on here, maybe a few, but that one's not on it for me, I'm afraid.
What's your
own number 10?
What is your number 10?
My number 10 is from Scream 5, Wes Hicks, Dylan Minnette is the actor who plays Wes Hicks. He gets stabbed through the neck. I think what I really like about this one is like the way it's built up to it, where he's in the house and it's keeps messing with your head, and it really is good because like people who watch Scream films are normally very well versed in horrors, and we've seen all the tropes, and it's like, is he going to be behind the fridge? He's not behind the fridge, and they did that at the intro of the movie as well. And it like the way it builds up, and then we have the death that's really graphic. But what I found interesting is that it's kind of graphic in an interesting way. Like normally when you see someone get stabbed in the neck, it's just like the knife just disappears. Here, like you see the knife slicing through a bit of his neck and it's out the other side. It's really distressing and interesting in a way I haven't really seen someone get knifed in a film before. But yeah, and then he has kind of breathes out and it's kind of spits blood. A bit like Ghostface. I mean, it's brutal. For me, it's my number 10, which maybe could even be up higher the way I'm talking about it, to be honest.
That was so good because it was practical effects.
Yeah.
Was that on your list? Is that on your list, Phil? Is that anywhere?
Yeah, but higher up it would be like 7.
It's number 7 on your list, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it should be higher on mine actually when I look at it, to be honest.
Yeah, it was I have it down as number 5 on my list because so graphic. It was probably one of the most graphic kills in the whole franchise. It was just like you're just like, it's one of them. You just regurgitate just watching it. It was a wicked way to go. Plus, they gave him, it was the first one without Wes Craven, so they gave the character his name, like Wes, which was like, why are you killing Wes? Like when you just give him Wes Craven first name, like why would you kill him? He can't be the one dead. But
it's an odd tribute, all right.
Yeah, it was an odd tribute, which is
it was just done so that the lads could have the toast.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, for Wes. Yeah.
My number 10 was actually Stephen Orth from the first Scream, the very first kill. The only reason that it kind of pisses me off throughout the whole franchise is it's not memorable. As of all the kills, like he's the first kill, but it's overshadowed by Casey Baker's kill. Like nobody goes back and says, what about poor Stephen? Like throughout the whole first film, it's all about he killed Casey Baker. Like nobody cares about.
And it's funny you say that because like going back on this, watching it for specifically the kills, I was so disappointed that was the first kill. I was like, God, I wish Casey was the first death, because that death is
but it didn't have any impact on the whole film. Like it should have been just her, like, and her boyfriend. Like if he didn't get killed in that, it wouldn't have made a difference to the opening scene. Like he didn't affect her at all. She didn't seem to care, really care. He was dead. She was just trying to save herself. So if he wasn't there, she would still be trying to save herself, and she still would have been, butchered as bad as she was. So unfortunately, Stephen's death, it's there. It's the first kill. It has to be on the list, but that's why it's my number 10.
Fair.
And anybody else, is that on any of your lists?
It's not on my list, I'm afraid.
Not on mine, no.
Okay, what's your number 9, Phil?
Olivia from Scream 4.
Nice.
Just because how vicious it was. I know it was all CGI and stuff, because weren't they saying afterwards that Wes Craven was saying afterwards that the knife was hurting him, the retractable knife.
That's right, yeah.
So this scene they used CGI knife, and you can kind of tell, but it was extremely vicious. The amount of times she was stabbed and then thrown through the window, that was nasty. I want to put it higher, but there's not enough emotional connect with the character, but it was just how vicious it was, is why it would be my number 9, I think.
Tom, is that on your top
It
10?
is on my list. It's a lot higher actually. On my list, it's a number 5 on my list. What I like out of a good scream kill is like the build up and kind of. I looking at my list now. I'm like, God, I am a very dramatic theatrical bitch. Because I'm looking at this and like I love the build up to it. How like, and I genuinely, because obviously I've seen Scream 4 multiple times now, but it did shock me again on a rewatch where you just get that moment where he just goes wrong closet, and you're like, oh fuck, oh fuck. And then yeah, it is a very brutal death. I think, especially compared to some of previous entries, and I think that kind of is a kind of remarkable departure from the Scream trilogy for me overall. And like with Scream 4, it's incredibly bloody, and then we also get the smash through the window for like an added insult. So yeah, it's way up there for me because it just still manages to shock me. So that's number 5 for me.
Yeah, actually, it was my number 9 as well, same as Phil's. Like, for all the same reasons. It's just a strong list. So it's not that it's a bad kill. It's just a very strong list.
Yeah.
Number 8, Phil. What was your number 8?
It's a tricky one. I'm debating as well because I don't know, would it be Maureen or is it Phil? Is that his name? Phil from Scream 2?
Oh yeah, I think it is Phil. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to say Maureen in the cinema, because how shocking it was with everybody there.
Yeah.
It's kind of mad. Like, I know that people would act like that. They think it's a stunt or whatever. So it's kind of mental. It's actually terrifying how he sits down right next to her with blood on his hands.
Yeah.
And it is. So yeah, I think that would be number 8 for me. I remember the first time I ever watched it by myself in actually 98, being absolutely terrified, just sitting there with the million Ghostface masks, the whole scene. But
was that something in any of your cinemas, like when you went to this, and was there a lower price in the
no,
cinema?
but apparently it's banned now at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, at the moment there was a news story that they're sending people dressed as Ghostface for to market Scream 6, and some of them are like getting called to the police stations and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, that one definitely kind of hits a new.
Yeah, because it's something
I would say it's not on my list.
No, okay.
No. I would say probably in retrospect, it probably should be on my list.
What's your number?
I did have Phil on my list. I said I kicked him off at some point. My number 8 is actually Casey Becker. And I think the reason why it's lower down is because it's not the kill itself that's memorable.
Yeah.
Like, she basically almost kind of gets killed. I won't say off screen, but it's kind of like she's almost killed in a transition. Like, it's the staging of her death that is so shocking. And again, it did really disappoint me that it wasn't the first death. So it lost some points there. But I mean, the way she's hanging from the tree is really shocking. And the way they zoom in on it is a bit distressing, but also it kind of feels like it takes away from it a little bit. It's a bit more style over substance for my liking. But it is grim and fuck having her parents discover it, and that's how you start your horror film, especially the stunt casting of Drew Barrymore. It's like, what? Anything goes in this film. They just killed off Drew Barrymore in the first 5 minutes. All right, let's go. But yeah, it is a memorable death. It is an iconic death in the series. For me, it just comes in at number 8 because I was looking at for a certain thing in my kills, which were theatrical and violence, I guess.
That actually isn't on my list either, but my number 8 was actually Randy from Scream 2. One of the originals from the first film, which is, everybody's go-to character for like movie trivia. Like, he's the nerd's favorite character in the franchise. Like, but unfortunately he didn't make it past Scream 2, even though he's in Scream 3 kind of like, but such a violent death for him. Like, when he having survived, everybody thought he was dead in the first film, to come back, go to the same college and stalk, you kind of like stalk per Sydney. There's like an obsession with her, like, and jealous of her boyfriends, like. But I was surprised, was watching the film for the first time. I was, going back and watching it over the years. It's still one of them kills that are like, fuck, why did they kill him off? Like, because he's, he's a big star. Like, he was, a well-known celebrity outside of the Scream franchise when he joined it. So, why didn't they keep him on for another, for the third film, like, knowing that there was going to be a trilogy? So that kind of shocked me whenever they killed him off of it. Plus the way his blood just drips out of the van, and they're like, "What's going on?" And they open the door, and it's like, "Shit." So yeah, that's my number 8.
Yeah.
And on your list, any of your lists?
It's not on my list, no.
Number 4 for me.
Number 4. Whoa.
Yeah. It was just
Not
such
mine at all, no.
it was a lovely character. At the time, it was just, I think people actually left the cinema in disgust when he
Really?
died. Yeah, people were so into it.
All right. Interesting.
But yeah, number 4.
Number 4. Number 7. Phil.
I had Wes. Yeah.
Oh, you had Wes, sorry. Tom, what was your number 7?
My number 7 was the death of Dewey in the most recent Scream with David Arquette. Mainly because like killing off a legacy character is something that like this late into the franchise has to be done. I mean, every time we see one of these kind of requels or whatever you want to call them, it feels like a legacy character gets killed off, Han Solo being the obvious example. And I think the way they managed to do it is they really gave some dignity to the character at a point where he didn't have it in the series. Like if in the film, he's kind of broken down, nothing is going his way, he's kind of a sad state of affairs, and then he kind of manages to redeem himself here. He goes out fighting. He has his kind of redemption, and he dies in a pretty violent but still dignified way. I mean, if they did something very graphic to him, it'd be annoying. But the way they I guess, kind of gutted is genuinely not as shocking as it should be. Like it could very easily have been like, okay, his head gets splattered, and we'd be like, what the fuck? Why would you do that to Dewey? But they did it in a way where he feels redeemed, and it doesn't feel like a disrespect to the character, even though they killed him off. And I thought it was very well done. I think we all saw someone dying. It's a shame it was Dewey because I love Dewey, but I thought it was one of the better deaths as far as legacy characters go in general. So yeah, number 7 for me.
Phil,
Here's voices.
Dewey is on my list. Yeah.
Where is he on your list?
Let me pull up this. He is 5.
Number 5. For the same reasons, you're shocking deaths. Legacy.
Yeah, like the problem is when the trailer came out, I knew he's dying, so I was prepared.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's number 5. Sorry, he's number.
Otherwise, I would actually, to be honest with you, this could have been in the top 3 if it wasn't for that.
He's number 6 in my list. Yeah, he was another one of those like Randy. Like it was just shocking whenever he died. Like you knew from whenever that scene starts that this is the end of Dewey. They tried to kill him off, in so many of the films. Like and how he didn't die in Scream 2 is beyond me. Like the amount of stabs in the back he got. It's just like there's no way. And how he still, how he became a sheriff for the 5th film, like it's like he was out in disability.
It kind of gives you that false sense of security as well, where it's like he's going to get in the elevator and he's like, oh, I better go back and see him. We're like, oh, okay, so he actually is going to die. Oh well.
I wonder. The trailer basically spoiled the whole thing.
Yeah, I wonder will they have a flashback of him just to have him in his character being in the 6th film as well, just as a flashback, just so we can.
Nice, since we're not getting Sydney back, I guess. Yeah.
Like someone said something there recently, and I thought it was a brilliant idea. Do you remember the Scream box, the voice box from 3?
Yeah.
If they had Dewey calls Gail, it would have been freaky.
Oh yeah.
You never know.
I thought you were going to say that it was really faked his death or something, and he was going to be the Ghostface in the new one, and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
I won't say anything, but I think they're going to shock us, surprise everybody with who the killer is. Maybe. It's going to be somebody unexpected, really, really unexpected. Number 6, Phil. Who's your number 6? Cotton Weary.
Yeah.
Another one of those legacy characters.
Yeah, like in Scream 1, obviously he only had that little cameo, but in Scream 2, he was the ultimate red herring.
Yeah.
Apparently, in the original version of Scream 2 script, wasn't he one of the killers or something?
I think so. Yeah,
I think there was 4 killers. I think there was 4 killers in Scream 2 originally written, which is kind of mad. But they had to change it due to leaks, and it's the
Yeah, that's
hardest
right.
movie
They
ever to
kept
keep.
changing them. Yeah,
Yeah,
Mm.
it's impossible to not get leaked. Like there's leaks for the new one out there. I'm not going near them, but they're all over the
Yeah.
place.
they actually
Um,
played up to that, didn't they? In the one of the stab behind the scenes things during Scream 3, they were talking about all the leaks or the scripts getting out and stuff in Scream 3.
Like,
Didn't
I think they shoot like multiple endings and all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
yes, they shot multiple openings as well with Cotton as well for Scream 3. Originally, Ghostface was in the boot of his car. That was one kind of draft. It's weird. I liked Cotton as a character, and I was kind of sad to see him appear on screen when I first saw Scream 3. I was like, oh no,
yeah,
he's
yeah.
gone.
It's
But I do like Scream 3 more than most people anyway. So
yeah. It's the nail in the coffin though when they start the film, and
yeah,
once you see that person in the start of the film, you're like, "Fuck, here we go, you're gone." Like,
except for the last one, they were too
That's
clever.
true. I never thought about that until now. Yeah.
yeah, you kind of give it kind of a spoiler, like you just know they're fucked.
I was thinking of some actor getting a script and they're like, "You're in the new Scream." Yes, in the opening. Oh fuck.
15 minutes of screen time. How much am I getting paid though for 15 minutes of work? Tom, where is he on your list?
Actually, he's not on my list at all. I kind of again I like this scene, but I thought, and again I think the death itself wasn't very memorable. I think like I'm looking at the very physical act of killing as I'm going at this from a very different angle. I actually don't have any kills from Scream 3 on my list at all. Although I did make a note, certainly someone committed murder when they gave Courtney Cox that Scream 3 fringe. Boom.
I blame
And that
Dewey. He said it. Dewey said it.
Killed her hairstylist.
There you
Yeah.
go. That's all I got.
Who was number 6 in your list, though, Tom?
Number 6 for me was kind of a random one. Cece, Sarah Michelle Gellar's character in Scream 2.
Yeah.
Just because it felt like, you know, Randy says in that movie, like, sequels are more elaborate and more brutal. And I kind of felt like this was the first kill we got where, oh shit, it actually is, you know, like it's a simple one where she gets stabbed multiple times. You're like, okay, so this is same Scream. And then they throw her off a fucking balcony. And you're like, okay, right, all right, there, we're up in the ante, right.
There's a couple of things with that as well. I don't know if you ever saw. Did you see the original of that where you can actually see the production assistant's head pop up when he's throwing her off the balcony? You can see a guy like come up like that and smile.
It's like that out. Obviously, it posted.
Well, it's gone now in the new versions, but it's actually there in the original VHS. Like,
oh my god, I have to look at that.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
And it also has the greatest transition. I think I love the transition. I love the music. When he kind of wipes the knife, it's so good.
Yeah, that knife wipe was brilliant. Is that on your list, Phil?
Actually, not on my list.
Either. No, surprised it wasn't on.
Yeah, I just think there's again, it's like a cold kill that meant nothing. That would be why it's not on mine.
Yeah. Well, it
might just be my crush on Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Yeah, well, it was surprised, like, you know, she was killed, and I know.
But it's also the scene as well that gives away that there's 2 killers in the movie.
Yeah, well, it's kind of expected with the franchise. You can't be just on your own. You can't be in 2 places at once.
Yeah, at this point, the twist would be if it was just the one killer the whole time and all of them, like.
And the thing as well, like I think Wes Craven said as well that he needed to put Sarah Michelle Gellar in the classroom scene, just so that she wasn't like, oh, who is she?
Yeah.
Halfway through the movie, she's just so sitting there randomly.
Well, again, she was one of the bigger stars in the second film. Like,
Buffy was out at this time.
I know what you did last summer, like, so she was around, and I think it was at the same time as.
It was about the same year, I think. Actually, was it 1997? Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah. Well, our number 5 is already full. We've got
Dewey,
Dewey and Wes and Olivia for Tom. Number 4 has been filled by Phil and myself. Tom, what was your number 4?
My number 4 is actually from Scream 4, ironically enough. Jill, Emma Roberts' character. I just think it's like, first of all, I think Emma Roberts was really good as the killer in this. Like, she, like, some of them kind of come off as composed and like, she just comes off like a total fucking psychopath, which I really enjoyed. Also, we kind of get like a really kind of fun one-liner here, which I feel like they sometimes do and sometimes don't do. I'm a fan of it when they do it. Some people I kind of cringe with them. I love the whole thing. You don't fuck with the original. Boom.
Yeah.
I just think it's fantastic, you know. And is that the kill as well where we get Clear? Yeah, it is. Yeah, where you get the you know, I just, again, Thought it was really creative, really fun, and it was a character that I was really satisfied to get to see them come up because I think we got enough time where she is revealed as a killer, which isn't always the case in Scream movies. It kind of feels like sometimes it's like they're the killer and they're dead, whereas this time it's like she's the killer and she failed. Okay, what's going to happen next? So I feel like we got enough time to hate her as a killer even more, and then we get a very satisfying death as a result.
But the thing is, well, like that wasn't the original ending.
Yeah.
Yeah, they tacked it on after the studio fired Kevin Williamson again.
That's right. Yeah, they kept firing, and he keeps coming back again.
Yeah. I'll be right back.
You'll never leave.
Also, as well, I was reading there recently as well. You know, Aubrey Plaza. She was originally like trying to get that role at Jill, but they said she looked too psychotic, even just by looking at her.
That, you know, that's fair though. That is very reasonable. I'd be like,
oh,
she's
too psychotic to be in a Scream movie though.
Yeah.
Immediately you'd be like, she's the killer. Okay, it's her.
Yeah.
Is that on your list, Phil? Is Jill on your list?
No, not at all.
No, really. It is actually on my list. It's my number 2 actually. One of the main reasons is because I hadn't watched Scream 4 for a long time. I had watched the first trilogy, and I was like, that's it, leave it alone. And I deliberately didn't go back to watch Scream 4 for a long time. I just like, they're just going to, it's going to be a really poor fucking, another sequel, and just like they're just extending the franchise just for the studio, and they're just making money out of it. Like, but I had been watching American Horror Story, and Emma Roberts was in that, and that I loved that series. And when seeing that she was in it, I was going through her. Obviously, she was Eric's daughter and Julia's niece and stuff, and I was like, all right, I'll see what else she's done. Like,
another horror show that she done. The guy with the red mask. There's a red devil mask.
Was she in that show? She would have been in that show Scream Queens as well.
Scream Queens, yeah. I haven't watched that either. Like, but I was halfway through, I think it's season 3, the Witches, the Coven season of American Horror Story, and I was like, right, I'll go back. And then I fucking sat down and watched Scream 4, and I was like, oh shit. And then her kill was fucking phenomenal. That was one of the most creative ones in the franchise. Like, because of everything that happened to her, I was like, this is fucking brilliant. Like, and then go back and finish off American Horror Story. I was like, that's great. Now let's move on. Like, but yeah, number 2 for me, one of the best ones. Number 3, Phil, what was your number 3?
Tatum.
Tatum, nice.
Yeah, it was actually one of the most creative kills in the whole franchise. The problem is she could actually legit fit through it.
Has Scary Movie fucked that up for you?
Not so much. But it's quite funny. It's like the thing that bothered me about it was like she kept throwing the bottles at him, and then she didn't come towards the door. I know it's a movie, and you kind of have to suspend your disbelief and stuff like that. But yeah, it's then there's the scene with Sydney, then seeing her as well, which is just kind of devastating, really. That's why number 3, the emotional thing with it.
Is Tatum in your list?
It's actually my number 1.
Nice.
I love a creative kill. Scream doesn't always have them. I definitely get a lot of them in Nightmare from Wes Craven. Like, but for this one, it's probably the most creative kill in the whole series for me. What I kind of like about it, aside from everything Phil mentioned there, like I really like how almost realistically sloppy it is. Like, not in a much lesser horror film, like she'd be halfway stuck and she'd probably get like cut in half or decapitated by the door. But it's kind of like, the door kind of struggles or whatever. And she just sort of gets awkwardly kind of mangled in the garage door instead of like, fucking decapitated or anything. I kind of like that. It's just like a perfect storm of bad stuff happens to her and it leads to her death. I just find it creative. I find it really satisfying. I think it's the most memorable kill in the series as a whole, to be honest.
It's also as well the first time someone calls it Ghostface. Tatum calls him Mr. Ghostface.
Yeah, it's number 3 on my list for pretty much all those reasons. It does, like, because it's so sloppy, but it makes you feel like, hang on a minute, this killer isn't Jason or Freddy, or like it's just some dude in a costume. It just tells you like how sloppy they are, and you throw a bottle at them and they're ow, what's going on? Like, ow. So like, how can you not kill this? How can you not figure out who this is? Like, is it Stuart? Is it Billy? Like, it could be any one of them. Like, she fucks off to get the beer. Why isn't somebody going with her? Like, she's in there on her own. There's supposed to be a killer on those. So obviously maybe her boyfriend, maybe Stu, went with her, but snuck off to put the costume on and then snuck back out and took, obviously had somewhere they stashed the costume. Who had the costume hidden somewhere in that house? Like, so yeah, it was fucking a great way. Obviously, science, whatever it is, she's not going to, obviously the weight of the door isn't going to be able to hold her lifting her up, like, but it's still pretty cool the way they do it. Like, but yeah, number 3 for me. Moving on, Tom, what was your number 3?
My number 3 is actually from Scream 5, the most recent one. Amber.
Oh yeah.
The way the passing of the torch death. I think this is like probably divisive among some people. It's definitely one of the sillier deaths in the series. But I also I just like, Sydney and Gale kind of teaming up to get revenge for Dewey. So it's a really nice moment. And we kind of get the extra thing of like, she gets like hit and then also she gets lit on fire. It's like a little bit extra juice there to keep it as an interesting death. I just think it's a lot of fun. Maybe not the deepest of deaths, but it was a lot of fun. I found it entertaining. So right there, it's my number 3.
Phil, is that on your list?
No, actually, no.
Okay, so moving on, number 2. Phil, what was your number 2?
Casey.
Casey.
There's a specific shot in that opening scene that I absolutely love, where she removes the mask and it kind of comes out of shot, and she knows who it is. I love a Scream where we know who the killer is at the beginning of the movie, and the cast don't. I'd love they did that. I'd love to do
That'd be a good way to mix it up, yeah.
Yeah. Would be cool, actually, yeah. Why is it number 2 and not number 1? Was there something?
Yeah, I suppose we'll go into it when we get to 1, but yeah. There's something very, yeah.
Yeah, and Tom, that's your number.
That was my number 8. Was it number 8? Yeah.
It's actually my number 1. It obviously for reasons it started off the franchise of, not including her boyfriend, like, but this is, what opens up the whole franchise for everybody, what opens the film, and it shocks everybody because it's Drew Barrymore and they pushed her as, poster girl. She was on it and she wanted the part, they were trying to get her to be Sydney, right? I think they trying to audition her to be Sydney, and she wanted the Casey part instead because she wanted to shock everybody, and she literally did. Like, the way it changed the way horror was done, really, like killing her off in the first. She was such a big star, and they kill her off the way they did. She got a brutal death and leaving her hanging in the tree for her parents to come home to, which was fucking sick as well. Like, they didn't have to have the parents show up at all. They could just had, the next day cops on the scene or something, like, but they had to have them, see her hanging there. It's just like fucking ridiculous. Like, so it was so shocking, but it is like so iconic for the franchise and for horror films in general. They do that, something like that. They're such a big star. So it's my number 1. Number 2, Tom, what was your number 2?
My number 2 is Stu's death. Seeing one of the killers get their comeuppance is just satisfying as hell. But also, there's a certain poetic justice seeing the kind of movie obsessed fanatic get crushed by a TV. There's your bit of irony. And I think the way he kind of is reduced to this kind of sniveling, like, no, is like really satisfying, especially. I mean, I'm kind of surprised. I keep in my head, anytime I see this, I'm like, what was that one? What's the one name? I thought she was going to say there's too much violence on television or something. She doesn't. So maybe it loses points there. But I keep expecting her to say one liner. She doesn't, but it's still such a satisfying death to see Stu kind of get crushed by a TV. I just think it's really satisfying. It's a lot of
fun. Phil,
number 1.
Left with your number 1. Richie.
Yeah.
Oh.
He gets stabbed at least 25, 30 times. it was actually uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah.
And then the knife slit across the throat was just vicious. Like, I'm convinced that Sam is involved in all of this stuff.
It's some vicious shit compared to the rest of them.
But, like,
doesn't she do the knife clean then as well at the end of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we were like,
they could get creative here and have Billy and Stu on camera again in 7.
There's
like Billy as the ghost and Stu as Ghostface.
Yeah. They are. And there's a possibility he's still alive in the franchise.
I was gonna say, I think he was meant. There was a rumor one said they were going to have him in Scream 3. I think it was.
I think it's in the,
He was in prison. I
second
think.
one, isn't
Was
Matthew
it?
Lillard as an
In the
extra
second one,
background
yeah, he is, yeah.
for
Yeah,
split
I think there
second?
was definitely one. There was one script where he was going to be back in it. Apparently, I think.
Yeah, he has blonde
Might
hair.
be-
in
I-
Scream
I think the third one. You're right, Tom.
Yeah.
What's the third one? I
I
think.
want to say Scream 3 because I know Scream 3 had tons of shit changed to it because it was
Yeah.
around the time of Columbine. But
That's right. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, he had blonde hair in Scream 2 in the party scene. He's
Yes,
in the back.
Yeah. Brief second.
But I'm just convinced like that you'll have Billy and Stu on one side where she can see him.
So this is your predictions for Scream 6 or Scream?
7.
What's your predictions for Scream 6?
Kirby.
Kirby.
Kirby is Ghostface because she wants to stop it she doesn't want this to continue anymore. That's the motive.
Tom, you have any predictions for Scream 6? Who the killer might be?
I don't, and it's been bugging me because like they've been saying all sorts of things like in promoting this, like it's like someone we've never seen before, and it's some. I think they even said something like it might be something fans recognize or something strange. Where like my mind is really, I can't think of who it is.
Yeah.
But I think it's really like what we've seen from it so far. I'm really excited for it because it just looks so damn vicious. It looks a lot darker and more brutal from what they're showing us. Ghostface has a shotgun, which some people are like, boo, but I'm like, holy God, now he's got a shotgun.
But
Don't give that man a shotgun.
I think he just takes that off the shopkeeper, right? I don't think he.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that. It doesn't bother me at all. I mean, if he gets in one scene, like, you know,
Exactly.
as long as he's not like got a snipe, doesn't have like a sniper rifle and he's sniping people off. That's where you lose me.
Yeah. Not in New York, I know. Too many people around. I think curveball, probably just fantasy book and watching too much wrestling and hoping for something that's never going to happen. That Neve Campbell is a surprise at the end, and she's Ghostface.
You know
that's why she's not appearing in the credits.
I was thinking that for so long. Like when they were like, "Oh yeah, well she's not coming back," I was like, "Oh, she's secretly in this, and she's going to be the killer at long last." Then she started going on about like women payment in Hollywood, and I was like, "Well, that would be a really awkward thing to bring up if it wasn't her."
Even still, it
yeah,
would be a nice swerve if she did. Like, but
it would be amazing.
I have no idea who it could be. It could be anybody. It could be somebody's fucking mother, somebody's daughter, somebody's fucking son. So it's gonna be good.
He's dead.
Could be. Before we get into the results, we're going to talk a bit about the sponsor of today's episode, which is Manscaped.com. 7 million men worldwide are on Manscaped right now, so that's 14 million balls. Maybe one or two people missing one nut, like, but 14 million balls worldwide are trusted Manscaped with their below the waist grooming. The new 4.0, the beard trimmer, the ball trimmer, nose and hair weed whacker. You've got the ball deodorant. Lads, you've gotten your package. Phil, you've had Manscaped for a while. Tom, you've got your Manscaped package. Have you been using it regularly, or do you use it a lot?
I was very impressed with the package. Like the stuff is slick as fuck. I mean, even aside from all the products, it's converted me to boxer briefs or whatever you want to call them. Those things are amazing. I was never into that. I mean, you've got the weed whacker. I mean, for the nostrils and the ears and all that. I thought it was a really great set. I mean, the products are top notch. I mean, geez, it's going to be sleek from now on. What can you say? Like
the price is very reasonable.
Yeah, well,
absolutely. I think I'm recommending it to a lot of people going forward.
The good thing about it, it reduces the nicks and tears, so there's not going to be much screaming when you're shaving down below. There's not going to be any blood, like as much blood as you'd see in a Scream franchise movie, like So with the 4.0, like it's totally as smooth as possible. Today we've got a special offer for you at the checkout. If you go to manscaped.com, in checkout, put in the code IWE20, you'll get 20% off free worldwide shipping. That's 20% off free worldwide shipping. Go on to manscaped.com, look for the 4.0 package. You get everything that we've talked about. Try it out. 30-day money back guarantee as well. So, if you don't like it, send it back nice and clean. Just don't leave anything lying about in the blades. But try it out. It's a win-win situation. If you like your nether regions to be smooth, go for it. Try it out at the checkout. IW20, get 20% off and free shipping. Okay, we have our top 10 best kills in the Scream franchise as listed by Top of the Pods. At number 10, in joint 10th, Cece and Steve. Number 9 was Randy, poor old Randy. Number 8, Wes, R.I.P. Wes Craven. Number 7 was Olivia. Number 6 was Maureen from Scream 2. Number 5 was poor old Dewey. Number 4 was Cotton Weary. Number 3 was Jill. Number 2 was Casey Becker. And number 1, top kill of the Scream franchise goes to Tatum from Scream 1.
Nice.
Well done, Tatum, for being the best kill and dying for our pleasure. We appreciate you and your whole garage.
We appreciate your sacrifice.
It was worth it. Lads, Scream 6 is out next, as this recording, it'll be out next week. Are we looking forward to Scream 6?
Oh yeah, I'm really looking forward. Like, there's reviews out there now that are non-spoilery.
Okay.
They're good because people were paid to go see it, so they're going to be good.
Mhm.
But somebody said it's the best opening sequence since the first one, so we'll see. I literally know nothing about it. I blocked all on social media, everything about it, so I don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
It's a great thing.
Have you gotten your tickets ready? Is it, you think it's going to be a...
We're hoping to go to the double bill one on Wednesday, but I really don't want to watch 5 and 6, so I'm hoping to go in at halfway. Hoping to go at half 8 rather
Some
than
poor
half 8.
fucker's going to go in there now and Scream
Robbed it.
and never have seen it, and Phil's going to walk in and spoil it. Lads, been a pleasure. Check out all our socials on Twitter. We're on Instagram, TikTok at Irish Wrestling 8. All our previous episodes, go check out all our previous episodes. Subscribe to our channel. This will go out. Make sure you go watch Scream 6 and leave your comments below. Let us know who you think the killer might be before you go see it. If you go see Scream 6 and you watch this afterwards, let us know if you've seen it, what it's like before we go see it. But don't spoil it for us either. But this has been the top 10 kills in the Scream franchise. I've been your host, Jerry. This is Tom. This is Phil. Have a good time, boys.